So that's the new National Director of Public Prosecutions, Shamila Batohi, addressing the media a bit earlier on. Well, for more on the tough task that she faces, I'm joined by Outa's Chief Legal Officer, Advocate Stefanie Fick. Thank you so much for coming through. So let's start with that issue of independence, because it really seems to be, when we talk about the NDPP position being a poisoned chalice, we're actually talking about whether or not you'll be able to do your job free of any interference, political in particular. When she says that she will stop at nothing to ensure that that's safeguarded and that she's received guarantees from President Ramaphosa that there'll be no interference, do you believe that?
Well, I really hope that's the case, because it's extremely important that we have an independent NPA to prosecute whoever you are for whatever you have done. And we need it currently. We've seen the revelations at the State Capture Commission. So I have hope. I really have hope. And Advocate Batohi has got a huge task on her shoulder to firstly create this independence and show to us as South Africans that she's there to fight and to take us forward, and so that we can move forward.
So when you look at her and you listen to, I'm pretty sure you followed her interview process and the interview processes that happened, but also if you look at her track record, do you believe, she talks about the NPA being under a dark cloud, do you believe she has what it takes to dissipate this dark cloud?
Yes, I do believe. She said all the right things. If you listen to what she has said previously about what needs to happen in the NPA, I mean, it's a question of not only starting within. She'll have to go look at the bad apples. She'll have to set up a team so that she can look at all the corruption charges and everything. And then, like I said, say to the South African public, we're here, we're independent, and we're fighting for you again. The wheels of justice is turning again.
How difficult will her task be, though? I mean, I'm just looking at, she obviously talked a bit about what's coming out of the State Capture Commission of Inquiry and says the allegations, if true, they are devastating, and, you know, she's taking some certain steps to ensure that there's follow-through on the revelations. Just recently, we saw, for instance, the Assets Forfeiture Unit of the NPA not having a great time in following up on some of the cases that have to do with state capture. For instance, the Gupta property that had to be handed back in terms of the preservation order. So what does that say about the capacity that she has within the organization itself?
I do believe that although one has to look at capacity, you have to look at capacity not only in the NPA but also in the South African Police Department. I do believe that she does have quite a few good advocates, good prosecutors. But yes, state capture, there's a lot of revelations. I mean, I actually want to say we are in the beginning of the State Capture Commission inquiry, and we've heard so many things coming out. So I do not admire her. She's got a very difficult task on those two shoulders. But I firmly believe that she's the right person to take us in the right direction.
So you have a lot of hope, but the other challenge is that, you know, issues to do with corruption and state capture and the diverting of public funds are not the only issues she has to focus on, though. The demands, you know, are limitless, whereas the resources that she has are limited. I mean, she still has to deal with issues such as, you know, prosecuting violent crimes and sexual offences.
I agree with you. We are all a bit focused on state capture, but while that is continuing, we still have crimes on our streets. We still have the normal crime that happens, and she'll have to deal with that as well. That's why her task is really, it's an enormous task. And then you sit with an institution that you will have to pick up because of this dark cloud that's hanging over it. She has the task of telling the people outside we are again independent. We want to tackle the bull by the horns. But I think it's possible. If we do not have that hope, where are we? So I am positive we're going to turn the ship around and we're going to see prosecutions whatever the crime.
As she comes in, the two deputy national directors of public prosecution, Nomgcobo Jiba and Lawrence Mkhwebi, are undergoing that process to come to a determination whether they are fit to hold office or not. How important is it that that task is concluded quickly to try and build some capacity, some leadership capacity? Because by her own admission, many of the challenges at the NPA emanate from poor leadership.
Now, it's absolutely important. And that sort of parallel shows me that this is a process, and that process has to be concluded very fast. We're very happy with the process as it's going along, and that is very important for the leadership. She's one person. She will need people underneath her to pick up her team and to get everyone riled together again to say we've got one focus. And that's what the NPA is supposed to do. We are independent and we're going to prosecute the criminals.
So given the optimism that you exude, Stefanie, do you foresee her lasting the full 10 years, I think? It's 10 years, right? The term of office. It's very long, and no one has survived it in the recent past. Do you foresee her completing her term of office?
I'm going to say the following. I think everything we've seen and heard from her says that she's up for the task, and she's up for the task for 10 years. But this is a very difficult task, and I can only hope that she gets the support that she needs. Like I said, she's one person. She needs the support, and I hope that she will get it.
What about the other elements of the criminal justice system that have in the past proved to be some kind of stumbling blocks, for the NDPP and his or her team to be able to carry out their tasks? Just recently, Veli Hofmeyer, I think it was yesterday, was talking about a culture of, prosecutions going after investigators in the South African police services and vice versa. That culture will need to be dismantled. How much of a concern should it remain for Shamila Batohi on day one as she starts with what she promises to be a clean-up campaign?
A big concern, because that's part of the process of cleaning up, is to make sure that that modus operandi doesn't continue. Because we've seen it before. Investigators get moved around so that cases aren't investigated properly. And I think it also came out of the inquiry is that the prosecutors that wants to prosecute are being attacked. So it was impossible for them to do their job. So very, very, very important.
Just a final one then. Let me ask you about the testimony that's been coming out around the issues to do with Bosasa and how the former senior executives and people who were part of that organization, now known as African Global Operations. Yeah. What have you made of those revelations and given the kind of business that this particular entity has enjoyed in the past from government, but actually continues to enjoy in government? Michael Masuta says he's asking for a review of all the contracts, but does that go far enough?
Well, it's a good start. I think it's good news that they're actually starting to do something and just not leaving it to the State Capture Commission. I think, as South Africans, I think I speak on behalf of a large part of the population. We went into the State Capture Commission wanting to hear what about the Gupta family and the corruption about the Gupta family, and here comes private organisation. And we hear about all the corruption, and not with the SOEs as we've expected, but with just a government department. This process of the State Capture Commission is very important because we get to see what went wrong, but it's also very important that we correct the behaviour. And the NPA and the South African Police Department has got a huge task to show us, and I really believe we need to be assured that something is going to be done, that the perpetrators, I'm not saying that the perpetrators are all guilty, but let's start a process. There's a process. We have a wonderful constitution and we've got the Criminal Procedure Act. Let's start the process.
So in as far as, for instance, the contracts that African Global Operations continues to have with our government, what should happen there? Should we wait until the commission process concludes and we basically have a clearer picture of whether or not they did wrong? Or should we get government acting immediately, as the minister is suggesting that he's reviewing the contracts?
Government should act immediately. All these processes are running parallel. State Capture Commission has their job to do. We will probably, don't know how long that's going to be, but government should take action now. The NPA should start prosecuting now. The police should start investigating now. All parallel processes.
All right, thank you so much for coming through. Stefanie
Pleasure.
Fick from Outa, the organization Undoing Tax Abuse, talking to us about the first day in office of Shamila Batohi.